Hello everyone, welcome. Today we got another great video for you. I'm here with two really special students. This is Ryan. Ryan, say hello.
Hello.
This is Matthew. Matthew,
Hi.
say hello. So they studied with me for about 7 years, and then they went to Canada, came back, and now Ryan is studying in an international school in America.
Yep.
What school are you studying at?
Avan Old Farm school. It's a boarding school.
Yeah, it's a great school. And Matthew is studying in Jeju.
Yeah.
What's the name of your school?
Johnsbury Academy Jeju is one of the international school in Jeju.
So they've had so many different life experiences studying English, from learning in Korea to learning in Canada to learning in America and an international school in Jeju. Learning English was fun, but I'm sure it wasn't 100% of fun all the time, always, right?
Yeah.
There were some hard parts to it. What was the hard part for you?
Well, I had a hard time with the vocabulary because I didn't memorize at all, and that's make me hard later on when I take a TOEFL test.
Right. Yeah.
So
There's two different ways that people go about teaching vocabulary in Korea. One is the Sparta method, academies that make you learn vocabulary for memorizing hundreds and hundreds of words a day. And if you study that way, then you'll definitely do better on standardized tests when you take them. The downside is, if you did study that way, like having vocabulary, do you think you would have kept studying English when you were
young? No, definitely.
Yeah, it's not so fun for young kids. Do you do it now, vocabulary?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. He's definitely at the age where tests become important. And we never said, how old are you, Ryan?
Oh, I'm 17 years old.
17 years old in
Yes.
Korean age or Western age?
Korean age.
In Korean age. So he's at the point right now where he's got to start to worry about all of these standardized tests coming up in the future. And I'm sure he has no stress about that, right?
Yep.
And Matthew, what was hard for you?
Vocabulary, because every time we read or listen, every time we listen, there's confusing word that
Right.
we can't understand.
Right.
That gave me a lot of stress. I can't understand.
It's probably difficult to, like, when in the beginning when we started to have classes and I was trying to talk to you and you can't understand, right? It's always like your first experience with a foreign teacher. It's always a little bit difficult like that, but it gets easier over time, right?
You're right.
Right. So, do you have any advice for someone studying English in Korea?
In Korea?
Yeah, in someone who's studying English around the time that you guys did it. So like elementary school, kindergarten, like to the kids out there who are studying. Do you have any advice for them?
Sure, yeah. So I think it's important to like study speaking first. Then later you can study vocab or grammar. Because my test score wasn't what the school expected to be, but with the interview I got in.
Yeah.
So I think speaking is important first.
Yeah, we worked hard for that interview. Yeah.
Yeah.
I trained him first because we studied so much speaking and progressing and leveling him up, and then when it came time for the interview, we studied the interview skill, because interviewing is a skill. It's not something that you can just do. Even if you're perfect at English, you can't just go out there and interview. You got to know what kind of questions they're going to ask and how to answer them and how to communicate with the interviewer, how to show that you have confidence, how to show that you're an interesting person. And Ryan is all of those things, so he was able to do it easily. Okay. What about you, Matthew? You have any advice?
Speaking is very important, but I think grammar is also important, because if we make little mistake on grammar, they can't really understand.
Right.
But
native speaker can understand by catching main points.
Right.
But
yeah, like grammar is the life of the language. Without grammar, you can't communicate the intricacies, the details that you want to. Like you can always communicate big points.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's easy to just mind things, right?
Yeah.
I'm hungry. Give me food. Right? Like but like when you want to express yourself or like communicate in a meaningful way, it is grammar, right?
Right.
Right. You got to do it in a fun way, but like you got to do it. Right. All right. Next we're going to talk about them going to Canada. So when you went to Canada, you were not nervous at all, right? And everything was fine, and you went to Canada and there was never a problem, and you spoke English perfectly already by the time that you got there, right? No. There's no way to be completely prepared. It's always going to be an adventure. Let's talk about the program that they went to in Canada.
Oh.
So what was the program?
So program was like there was many Korean students just like we did, just like us, and after a school we just gathered and just studied more English. Just that's it.
So it was a very intense program, right? Where were you guys living?
In Canada, Maple Ridge. It's
Maple Ridge. I mean, were you living in a dorm or were you living in?
I was in a homestay.
Homestay, right? And Matthew too, you were in a homestay.
Yeah.
And you guys weren't living in the same place, right?
Yeah.
So you guys both had different families that you were living with. And your family, they had some children. How old were they?
Oh, they were like, there was two, and one was like years younger than me, and one was like same age as me. So we get to play like chess, board game, and it was really good.
Yeah, so like you had the same kind of experience that Matthew got to have in Korea, where he was playing with Shane.
Yeah.
And you didn't have that, but you went to Canada and you met someone who was your age that you could talk with and play with in English. And Matthew, how about you?
My homestay was not very good, but
How old were the kids?
one was in a kindergarten and two of them was lower grade.
Okay. So you guys had kind of like an opposite experience because you got to play with Shane in Korea and you didn't. You got to play with the kids in Canada, and the kids in Canada were a bit too young for you to play with. Like there was too much of an age gap. You probably had to like babysit and take care of them sometimes, right? Which was and I think you got more out of the experience than Matthew did, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, in my opinion, a large part of the reason that Ryan probably got more out of it than Matthew did was because of the age difference between them.
Yeah.
How old were you when you went to Canada?